I'm inviting Bhuvana ma'am to introduce
Yes,
our third guest, Karen ma'am from Malaysia.
thank you. I'm Bhuvana from Andhra Pradesh, India. I'm a teacher, correspondent, scorecard holder, and sharEvery. I would like to invite a special guest, leadership coach, clinical hypnotherapist, psychological trauma therapist, integrated coach in therapy services. And she's also training facilitator. She's none other than Karin from Malaysia. Over to you, ma'am. This floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening once again, everyone. And what a wonderful Women's Day we are having together. I'm so blessed to be here with you. I'd really like to talk a little bit about not empowering others, but how do we empower ourselves as women? Because very often we forget about ourselves, don't we? We put others first and then we're left on the sideline. How is it that we enable ourselves to have it all? How do we present our best selves, both in the family and within the workplace and in our career? Part of it is moving past and giving ourselves permission to move past generational bias. Very often we know globally, within our communities, within our extended generations, our grandparents, our parents, have a certain idea of how things should be. But how do we forge our own path whilst taking account of those pieces of advice? How do we also move past the internal and external pressures to make choices between family and career? Something that we have done over generations and generations. We move our career, and then when we begin to have a family, we feel that internal as well as external pressure to give up on those dreams and to revert to being a housewife. Now, for many, if that's a choice, that's wonderful, and it's a great choice to have. But if you give up your dream, why can't we have both? Why can't we be our best version in every aspect of our lives? And it's actually about moving towards creating and sustaining a meaningful, integrated life. Not about balancing life like on a pair of scales, but actually integrating all the parts of ourselves and balancing our energy that we bring to each part of our lives. And it's about realistic expectations upon ourselves, also about setting our boundaries. Where do we want our boundaries to be for ourselves and other people? Being able to communicate our needs as our situations change, as our family dynamics change. And creating and sustaining holistic workplace culture where we can thrive as empowered women, as women who are both mothers, daughters, wives, and career holders. All those roles united together. And it's partly about re-educating others about equity and what that means. It's not about us all having the same pair of shoes, because quite honestly, they don't fit everybody. It's about having the right pair of shoes to fit the right feet and knowing that these aspects fit us entirely and align to us. And also it's about doing what's right for you. We are individuals, therefore the way I might approach something might be very different to how you might approach something, as well as our needs may well be different. We need to think about, well, how do we empower ourselves? How do we move past something that I would call, and many of you will know as well, as limiting beliefs? We encounter these limiting beliefs day after day. And these are stories that we tell ourselves. It's something that our unconscious mind tells ourselves to make sense of the past in order to protect us from harm, from rejection, from embarrassment or humiliation, or even failure. It only takes one thing from the past And that shapes then your narrative of the future, which strengthens and strengthens as we get older. And we've all experienced it, ladies, haven't we? Where we have those nagging doubts of what people think. I don't feel worthy enough to do that. I can't do that. I haven't got the experience to do that, or I'm too young to do that. So many nagging, limiting beliefs that creep into our mind, and they grow and they fester. Now, what once served us very well to protect us and to keep us from harm, we need to realize that our unconscious mind sometimes doesn't know when to let go. And this is where we need to educate ourselves. Our conscious mind now needs to almost reprogram our unconscious mind by challenging it and saying, this might not be true. It's not a complete truth. So by recognizing that limiting belief, by then challenging that limiting belief, it devolves it of power. It reduces its power in our minds and in our lives. And we do that by looking for evidence and saying, now, is that completely true? Or have I done that or something similar to it before? Can I bring that into this situation and can I achieve? And as soon as we start nitpicking that evidence and challenging, that's when we bring a reframe to that narrative. And this is how we can retell our stories, because we are our own authors after all. We have the power to write our own stories, to retell our narratives, to reshape it from what it was into what we want it to be. So part of it is asking ourselves, how is this belief now serving us? Is it still serving us? And if we feel it isn't, give ourselves permission now to honor that belief. Yes, we embraced it for so long, for so many years, but we need to forgive ourselves for holding on to it for so long. We need then to recognize, challenge, look for evidence, reframe, but most importantly, to move forward. And sometimes that then means we can break through that comfort zone that our unconscious mind has kept us trapped in. Because by protecting us, it's not only protecting us, it's actually stopping us, hindering us from taking opportunities, from taking those steps forward to learning, to growing. Now, if we can actually forgive ourselves enough and move forward out of that comfort zone, the first few steps, we need courage. We need to be bold because it can be scary. We're stepping into a fear zone. However, we need to reinforce ourselves that by going beyond that fear, it leads to learning, it leads to growth, and it leads to a whole new embracing of a new you in the future. And if you can see yourself in the future, if you can imagine it, then you can become it by putting these things into place. And as we move forward, as we make those plans, as we build our affirmations, as we destroy those limiting beliefs and build our own affirmations and retell those narratives in a much more positive way, where we build, as we said before, that self-care, that self-love, where we become worthy, we become enough, and we know what we want to be in that future. We can see ourselves in that future. And by doing that, we're actually claiming back our power as a woman. We are actually reclaiming that inner intuitiveness that we've lost along the way. We have natural intuition, and that's what our unconscious mind allows us to do if we ask it the right questions. And when we do, we can then claim back our authority over our own life. And this is then where we can live our best life. And as we said previously, this is then how we can present ourselves in the future, our best selves in the family and at work. So my dear Hope, we have that self-reflection that we think about how do we want to empower ourselves? How do we empower ourselves first so that then we can go out into the world and empower others? How do we break through the barriers and the bonds of limiting beliefs to achieve our freedom and to achieve true independence in our life? And again, claiming back authority over our lives. And I dearly hope that for each one of us as we step forward from today, it's entirely possible. And certainly I know everyone is capable of it. So thank you so much for the time today. And I wish the very best for each of you. And I wish for each of you an empowered life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So we have to believe ourselves. So what are challenges we are going to face when we believe ourselves? Definitely we can overcome that problems, and we have to love ourselves, self-love. So it's really amazing words from you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Really, we are blessed to be here. Thank you. Over to Shobharani, ma'am.
We have to empower ourselves without fears and faith and all. So thank you so much, ma'am.